Hey, moron! Hey, moron! Dude! Look at me! I'm the waterboard, dude!
Well, good morning, good people. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here and let's wake up the football gods. You know what? I know that there's going to be a lot of people pissed off at me this morning, and I didn't mean to piss people off. Every morning I wake up, I do a morning video. That's the first thing I do. I bring you updates and stuff, throughout the day on what's happening. If something breaks, I bring it to you. At the end of the day, I do my fireside chat, which is me reflecting and being thankful that I had a day. That today was a day I woke up on this side of the dirt and I'm able to go out there and work and do YouTube and be with you guys. And it's kind of like being thankful because I recognize at 59 years of age, I don't think I'm going to live to be 118. So I've got a lot less days in front of me than I have behind me. And so that is my thing. One of these times, I may be doing a fireside chat and it'll be the last time you hear from me. So I get into my thoughts and things and talk about the day and stuff like that. And my thoughts last night were about how the Dallas Cowboys defense is and the problems we've had in the playoffs. Because people will say, you've had a top 5 defense and things. Well, the thing about it is our offense, and if you think back to the 2014 season of the Dallas Cowboys, with Tony Romo and that running game, it protected a defense that wasn't really that good. The year before, our defense was historically bad. We had lost from that defense. Jason Hatcher signed a big contract with Washington, and D-Ware ended up going to Denver to get a Super Bowl, and Sean Lee got his knee tore up by Zach Martin. And that next season, we went from like 32nd to 17. But the reason they were able to do that was the offense was a ball control offense. Murray had 1,850 yards roughly. Tony Romo was hitting Dez and Jason Witten all over the field. It was a high-scoring offense that took up a lot of time, and it kept the defense off the field. And it ended up putting teams in a position where they had to pass the ball. So my thoughts on having George Pickens on the offense, here's the rationale. With George Pickens, defenses are going to have a hard time, even if you're in 12 personnel. If you're in 12 personnel and you've got CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens on the outside, if you put 8 men in the box, you're screwed. You're screwed. You can't put 8 men in the box with those 2 guys outside. That means one of those 2 guys is going to be one-on-one coverage. And if you end up putting a tight end there, everybody's on one-on-one. Somebody's going to be open. Thus, it's going to be difficult for teams to put 12 men in the box, which will make your running game better. And if the Cowboys run the football better than what they did with Mike McCarthy, who really didn't give a rat's ass about running the football till Dak Prescott was gone, it's going to make the running game better. If the running game gets better and we're able to score more points, then you're going to make teams one-dimensional. And so the title of my video last night was The Cowboys Defense Gets Much-Needed Help. Some people may have taken that as, we signed somebody else for the defense. So I did that video last night and it blew up. So I look at it this morning, it's like, boom, okay, it's going crazy. And some people I know will go through and say, well, you're just a clickbaiter. You're making shit up, man. You're a piece of crap. Okay. So I wake up this morning and I'm looking at my email and I get shared this right here. Sam Williams Sr., I follow him on Twitter, on X. He ended up tweeting out, OMFG, oh my effing God. Adam Schefter, breaking, Cowboys are signing all-pro Micah Parsons to a 5-year, $203.5 million extension that includes $147 million guaranteed, making him the highest-paid non-quarterback in NFL history per sources. And I literally was still rubbing the crust out of my eyes, and I'm looking at that, and I'm like, whoa, wait, what? And then I started going through here because the original one that was shared with me was posted in Facebook. And here's the problem with it. Mike came back and said something. He showed me, I can't remember what it was, but it was like, he said, I heard such and such. I said, I ain't heard that one. I said, yeah, I saw it on Facebook. It's like, okay, red flag automatically. If you see any post on Facebook, look at it with the side eye because it's probably BS, okay? I started looking at this and going through the comments on it, and as you start going through it, it's not the real man. It's not the real Adam Schefter. So it got sent to to somebody. Sam put the joint down. Bro, that's a fake account. Sam, is there any truth to this? Sam, no, I didn't get ESPN notification. Don't fall for this type of news. No! They'll buy some Bitcoin. Even this is fake. The front office should probably use it and guide and run with it. That Kip clap, you got pranked. It's fake. Yeah. It's fake. It's fake, okay? We've been bamboozled again. We've been flim-flammed. So.
Oh, I say it again. You've been had. You've been took. You've been hoodwinked. Bamboozled. Led astray. Run amok. This is what he does.
Yeah, it's all fake. So be careful out there. So for those out there saying that I am a clickbaiter, that I am fake news, I had a conclusion of something that actually is happening. There's so many of these fake posts that are out there. And also on top of it, now you have all of the proposed trades and stuff. I saw something, I got one this morning that was saying that the Browns were cutting Shedeur Sanders. And it's like, they're not cutting Shedeur Sanders right now. What are you kidding me? And of course, all of the proposed trades that the Cowboys have and so on. It's literally, it's like there's 10% news and 90% bullshit. Okay? And I'm going to try and be more clear in the future so people don't get mad at me. But what I do want to talk about here is, this is kind of crazy to me, okay? This is kind of crazy to me. I was sitting here and I was looking at an article on Bleacher Report as to the Cowboys' moves, okay? How the Cowboys have done this offseason, okay? And this is what they actually have for us, okay? So we go down, Dallas Cowboys. Key additions and re-signings. Kenneth Murray, who, mind you, we traded a 6th-round pick, I believe, for him. 6th-round pick for Kenneth Murray, who had 90 tackles last year, 107 the year before, was team captain on the defense. Okay, that's one of the moves. We re-signed Osa Odighizuwa, one of the most pressure givers and defensive tackle in the NFL. We signed Dante Fowler, 10.5 sacks last year. George Pickens, who had a down year last year, but still had 900 yards last year, and it's got 2,800 yards plus in his first 3 years with garbage quarterback and offensive play around him. Key draft additions, Tyler Booker. Donovan, EZ, who I believe had more sacks than anybody else last year as a rookie. And Savon Ravel, who is injured, but they say would have been a first-round pick at cornerback. Key departures, Zach Martin, Rico Dowdle, DeMarcus Lawrence. So they gave us, for that season, free agency trade grade, a D+. A D+? Wait, a D+. You got a 10.5 sack guy. You got a starting linebacker that had 90 sacks. You re-signed one of your big key free agents, and you got a legitimate number one wide receiver for a third-round draft pick who's only costing you $3.6 million, and you get a D+. Now, they gave us an A on the draft grade. Okay. Overall grade for the offseason, they gave us a C+. For the second straight offseason, Dallas Cowboys were relatively quiet through the initial stages, losing Zach Martin to retirement, but Dallas was able to retain underrated defensive tackle Osa Nigazua. Before the draft, the biggest move the Cowboys made was hiring Brian Schottenheimer as a head coach after Mike McCarthy declined his new contract offer. Schottenheimer does have experience with the franchise, but has never been a head coach before. In a cycle that saw the hirings of Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, Kellen Moore, Mike Vrabel, the Cowboys' choice was a little underwhelming. On the positive side, Schottenheimer isn't a potential distraction in the mold of Deion Sanders, who was briefly linked to the Cowboys opening. Dallas fared much better in the draft, grabbing pro-ready prospects like Tyler Biadasz, Donovan EZ, who should contribute immediately. The Cowboys also swung a trade for Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver George Pickens in the draft. While Pickens does have some concerns about his focus and motivation, he's entering a contract year, and he has the potential to be a reliable number two receiver that Dallas has lacked since trading Amari Cooper. So we took care of a problem that was 3 years that we couldn't do. Keep that in mind. While Pickens does carry, the Cowboys want to see Dak Prescott healthy and playing at all-pro level again in 25. Pairing Pickens and C.D. Lamb with Jake Ferguson should give Dak a terrific trio of pass catchers. Ideally, Pickens will perform well enough to earn an extension from the new team. So we got a D+ for our trades in free agency. Now, because I was kind of like, that's kind of hard. That's kind of hard. So let me look at another team, because maybe everybody they graded kind of hard. Let's go to the Commanders. Because, I look at it with the Commanders. They automatically think that the Commanders are, heads and tails of better than the Cowboys, even though the Cowboys split with them last year with Cooper Rush. Be that as it may. Key additions. Wide receiver, Deebo Samuels. Offensive tackle, Larry Tunsil. I was going to say Tunsil was a great move. Defensive tackle, Jonathan Kinlaw. Re-signing Bobby Wagner. Key draft additions, Josh Conley Jr. and cornerback Trey Amos. Key departures, Jonathan Allen, Jeremy Chin, Dante Fowler Jr. So, their free agency trade grade is a B+. Is a B+. Wait. So ours was a D+. Ours was a D+. Washington's a B+. Now, I'm not going to say that, Tunsil, I think, is the biggest move right there. I think that's great. I'm going to say I don't think Bobby Wagner re-signing is bigger than Osa Nigazua. I don't. I think that George Pickens' move is bigger than Deebo Samuel's, and I will say getting Dante Fowler is better than some of those other moves they made. But you can argue and say they were about the same, but they get a B+, we get a D+? Okay. Draft grade, they get a B. Overall grade, they get a B+. A B+. A B plus. So you explain that one to me. How Washington gets a B plus for their offseason, and we get a C plus. The Commanders rode quarterback Jaden Daniels to an appearance in the NFC title game last season. Unsurprisingly, general manager Adam Peters polarized protection this offseason. While acquiring Pro Bowl left tackle Tunsil did cost Washington 4 draft picks. Yeah, 4 picks. We spent one on 1 third-round pick. That's a reasonable price for one of the better pass blockers in the game. Pro Football Focus graded Tunsil as the 4th best pass blocker among 140 tackles last season. He'll turn 31 in August, but still has several good years ahead of him. The Commanders added another piece to their offense lightly by taking tackle Josh Conley Jr. after Washington got Daniels another weapon by trading for Deebo Samuels. While Samuels may not be a Pro Bowl player he was in 21, his unique set of skills as a runner and receiver will be added interest wrinkle to the Washington offense. He can put a team on his back, and he's going to present a lot of problems for defenses. So I'm sitting here. And again, nobody knows how these players are going to play. Maybe Deebo gets back to 21 Deebo. I don't know. It's 4 years ago. But I look at Pickens and say, if Pickens just gets to Pickens of last year, we've got a major improvement. We ain't got to go back 4 years and hope that that's the guy we get. And this is the thing that happens with the Cowboys is we constantly get shaded on. But the Cowboys, let's be clear here. At this point last year, okay, this is what we had done in free agency. We had signed Eric Kendricks and running back Royce Freeman. Yeah. We had lost Dorrance Armstrong, Tyler Biadasz. We re-signed Rico. We lost Chumo Igoda. We lost Dante Fowler. We lost Neville Gallimore. We didn't re-sign Stephon Gilmore. We did sign back C.J. Godwin. We lost Jonathan Hankins. We lost Noah in I can't pronounce his last name. We re-signed Jordan Lewis. We lost Tony Pollard. We re-signed Trent Sagg. And we lost Tyron Smith. That was the offseason we had last year. I can say, yeah, that was definitely a D minus. I can say that was a D minus. But hold up, let's go through this now, okay? After we finally got our coaching staff, before free agency started, we re-signed Osin Digizua, we re-signed C.J. Godwin, we re-signed Brock Hoffman, we re-signed on the 12th Brian Aguilar, Javonte Williams, Robert Jones, okay, guard Robert Jones, signed Solomon Thomas to a 2-year deal, signed Peyton Turner to a 1-year contract, signed Kevontae Turpin to a 3-year contract, and signed Jack Sanborn. That's just March 13th. On the 14th, we signed Dante Fowler, re-signed Marquez Bell, we signed Miles Sanders, Paris Campbell, and Dante Fowlers. This is all by March 17th. We got quarterback Joe Milton in a trade. We got guard Hakeem. I can't pronounce his last name. We ended up getting, we signed Tyler Booker, Donovan Easy, Savon Ravel, Jaden Blue, Shamar James, Jay Tola, Phil Maffa, and basically we signed all our rookies. Let's just go through there. And then we traded for George Pickens. We did all of that, and somehow, we're just a C+. See, this is the stuff that they do. They pump up the other teams. Everybody's talking about how great Washington is. The funniest thing to me is they don't seem to take into consideration that half of the teams that were playoff teams this year won't be next year. We're all assuming that the Chargers are going to be good again, that Denver's going to be good again, that Washington is going to be good again. and so on. We all can, we all look at that. And we go around and we say, well, San Francisco's going to turn it around because they were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and they're San Francisco 49ers. But the Dallas Cowboys, getting back their starting quarterback and getting better players around him, they can't turn it around. Is that correct? Okay. And, of course, they think the Eagles automatically will be great. And it could be that the Eagles are the team that falls. Let's finish this off with Rich Eisen.
Storylines
about
in an
Eagles.
NFL season. There's the number one storyline involves the defending Super Bowl champions and whether they can repeat. And that always leads to the conversation. We, as a matter of fact, had it on the 3-hour program last night on NFL Network. And the subject matter is always, who is the biggest threat to the defending Super Bowl champs? And what is the biggest threat standing in their way for a three-peat or a two-peat, which is the normal thing, and last year being the three-peat? And so the question involving the Philadelphia Eagles is, who is standing in their way of repeating? Now, sometimes you sit there and go, well, they lost too many players on their roster, and they did lose some players in free agency, but nobody that I think is going to shake the foundations of this team, clearly. Last time they won it all, the biggest threat to their repeating, as we all know, was the quarterback position, all right? And they did, in fact, have a shot to repeat with Foles, and then lost in the playoffs. So, as it turned out, they had a real good shot to repeat that year. The last time they made the Super Bowl, their biggest threat to making it back was they lost both coordinators. This time around, they've lost their offensive coordinator. He's now the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. So, is that the biggest threat? And then you look at other teams. The Washington Commanders got better. The Rams were the team that came closest to beating the Eagles in the playoffs last year. They got better. We're assuming it is based on the results we've seen from Cooper Kupp the last couple of years in terms of availability and production on the field, that Davante Adams is an upgrade for Matthew Stafford, who was on last night's schedule release show and singing the praises of Davante Adams. We'll talk about how he's still in touch with Cooper Kupp, and he can't wait to see him, as he will see him twice this year for Seattle. And again, John Schneider will be joining us later on the program, the GM who brought him to the Pacific Northwest. But the point is, there's really nothing that's just screaming at you in the face right now that says, huge impediment. They drafted well. They paid some of their stars for their 2024 season. Everybody appears to be healthy. So here's the biggest threat. And we found out about it last night. It's the schedule. The Philadelphia Eagles will face 7 of the top 10 scoring offenses from last season. They will face 6 of the top 7 scoring defenses from last season. They have 11 games against 2024 playoff teams. Now, we knew that they were going to play these teams all along. And we knew that of the 11 playoff teams that they would be facing this season from last season, every single team that they saw in the playoffs last year are one of those playoff teams that they're seeing. They're seeing every single one of them. And you could sit here and go, well, Rich, what does that matter? Because they dominated everybody but the Rams, but got past them because they were so dominant that the Rams couldn't dig out of the hole that they dug, or the snow drift that they were running into while Saquon was running past them. You could say that.
That'd be a valid point.
But now you see, though, the order of things. And of the teams that they faced in last year's playoffs, they see 2 of them in the first 3 weeks. And the one in the first 3 weeks that didn't make the playoffs are the Dallas Cowboys, who one must assume are going to be better. They're starting with Dallas at home, Then they're at Arrowhead. Then they come back home for the Rams. Then they're at Tampa, which beat them last year. And I understand the first month of the season was a different Philadelphia Eagles team. We can all stipulate that. But they have trouble winning in Tampa. As we know, that's when Jason Kelsey strolled off his football career field for the last time and went to ESPN. Then they're home for Denver. That's a tough first 5. They're playing the Giants on a short week Thursday night. We'll see about them apples. At Minnesota before they face the Giants again, there's a bye. A Monday night at Green Bay. A Sunday night home against Detroit. Then at Dallas. The Black Friday game against Chicago after Thanksgiving. A Monday night game out here in Los Angeles. Raiders at home. We have no idea who the Raiders are going to be this year. We're assuming they're going to be better. And then their last 3. They don't play Washington until their final 3 games of the season. They play them twice, wrapped around a visit at Buffalo.
It's not easy.
Now, we knew they were going to play these teams. We knew it. As soon as the season's over, who they're going to play. When the regular season's over, when you know who's first, second, third, and fourth, you know exactly who's on your schedule and where you're going to play them. The minute the season is over, and after they found out that information, they boat raced the league on the way to the winner's podium, with the exception against the Rams again at home in the snow in the divisional round, but they still got past them. Now we know the order of events. My goodness. They could still do it. I'm not saying they're not. What I'm saying is the biggest threat to the repeat is that schedule. One unfortunate injury for a month could cost them a playoff positioning.
Or playoff.
That could cost them in the playoffs. But we shall see. Schedule's out. Eagles are probably looking at that going, well, at least we got to buy when we like it. And you got to play them when you play them. And we're going to be home for some big ones. And this is going to be fun.
It's definitely going to be fun. It's definitely going to be fun. And I'm going to say, Eagles, shut up. You're not we basically have the same schedule, okay? Yours is only rated slightly higher than the Dallas Cowboys. And we end up being the first team that has the season opener, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. And mind you, we also have an NFL record for 4 Thursday night games. I don't want to hear anything about Eagles crying about their schedule. All right? Yeah, cry, Eagles, cry. You bunch of biatches. All righty, good people, as always, I got to get out of here.
Can't stand it anymore. I've got to get out of here. I've got to get out of here. Calm down. Get a hold of yourself.
Stewardess, please let me handle this.
I've got to get out.
Calm down. Now get back to your seat. I'll take care of this. Calm down. Calm down. Get a hold of yourself.
Doctor, you're one on the phone. Everything's going to be all right. Please.
Sister, please, I'll handle this.